Welcome to Fantasy Formula One Podcast. I'm Paul. That's Ben. Hey, thank you for joining the conversation. This is a thing we'd be talking about this morning anyway. Feel free to hit us up on all the social medias at Fantasy Formula One Podcast or email us info@fantasyformula1podcast.com. Today, just because there wasn't a race this weekend does not mean we're not going to be talking about stuff. So we're going to be discussing audience feedback. We got some of that. The Shanghai and hometown heroes for the race this weekend. And then we're going to be discussing the Shanghai Showdown that just came out on fantasyformula1.com.
Yeah.
And we're going to be discussing the sprint race because this is going to be the first sprint race of the Fantasy F1 season 2024.
Yeah, Shanghai. It's first race there since 2019. It was one of several locations that got pretty hampered by COVID.
Oh, gotcha. I wonder why there wasn't a race.
So they were not able to do that for the last couple of years. Shanghai first opened up in 2004. At the time, it was the most expensive Formula One Grand Prix location.
No kidding.
Yeah, $240 million.
Jeez.
So super expensive, but not to be outdone. 5 years later, in 2009, Abu Dhabi built their location. You want to guess how much more expensive it was than $240 million?
I'll go, it's another $100 million. So 340.
A little bit more.
Really?
$6 billion.
So that's why Abu Dhabi is the last race of that's like the crowning last race of the season.
Oh,
I think it is.
I would imagine so. But yeah, to go from it's $240 million. We did it, boys. And then 5 years later. Yeah, whole other league.
Yeah.
But no, Shanghai's crazy because a lot of reasons. So you start off with this straightaway, and then turn one into turn two is actually a 270-degree continuous turn. But what's crazy is it's progressive. So it's not just a 270-degree turn. It's a turn that progressively has a smaller turn radius. So you're increasing your turn as you go. And you don't come through that turn and then just have a straightaway where you even back out. You're wrenching your wheel all the way back over into turn 3 and 4, and basically doing a U-turn coming out of that initial gigantic turn. So last week we had the crash right in turn 2, lap 1. I would not be at all surprised to see something go horribly wrong.
Absolutely.
Which is, again, part of what we all watch for. There's there's
right.
the primal, very unrefined. We come here every week and we talk about these marvels of engineering and the spidey sense level reaction time these drivers have, but there's a part of us that goes, oh man, they're gonna wipe out.
Right,
hard,
Robin Williams said that. He's like, you don't go to racing and watch people take left turns all day. You go to watch people crash.
Yeah, does that indict us as a race? Probably a little bit,
might.
But just watching these first 4 turns is gonna be so exciting. That's going to be really interesting. So track length overall is 5.45 kilometers. If you're American, that's 3.387 miles. And what else we got here? Do you know who holds the fastest lap?
I want to say, since we haven't raced there since Lewis Hamilton, since 21, we said?
2019.
2019.
Correct.
That is like Lewis Hamilton strong. So I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton.
I like your thought process. Lewis Hamilton is the last to win.
Okay.
Win there.
Okay.
But the fastest lap holder is actually Pierre Gasly.
Pierre Gasly. No
with Red Bull. So
how long ago was Pierre Gasly with Red Bull?
I mean, it was at least 6 years ago.
Oh my god.
So
good grief.
Yeah.
All right. This is Zogan Yu's home race.
This is Zogan Yu's home race, and this is going to be a massive event just because this is the second full season for a racer from China. So
okay.
So Zogan Yu has been in 42 races so far. Last year was his first full season. So this is the first time that China will have had a hometown hero racer. Overall, in 2023, his cumulative position was P18. And then his career leading up to that was he was Formula 2 from 2019 to 2021, Formula 3 from 2016 to 2018, briefly in Formula 4 in 2015, and then prior to that he'd gone to the Alpine Academy and Ferrari Academy.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that led me to kind of go down a bit of a rabbit trail, just because I've been saying the term Formula One for the past several months now, and I don't even know fully what that means.
Okay.
And so that was Formula racing is single seater open wheel racing.
Okay.
And the different formulae are just leftover terminology from the FIA in post World War II. So just different different vehicle categories. So Formula 2 and Formula 3, Formula 4, Formula E all have their own specifications and limitations, and those are your different tier levels of racing.
So we talked about Joe Gun U. Anything more to say about Joe Gun U?
Yeah, actually go to the F1 website. They just did a feature on him as well. Okay. I want to just kind of clear the air and just throw out into the atmosphere an apology to Valtteri.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I've been claiming ignorance on pretty much everything I've talked about to this point, and as every time I've referenced him on this podcast, it's always been kind of he seems like a really fun guy, but racer, I don't know, and that just shows how much I don't know, because then I looked back at his career. This guy was he was with Williams from 2013 to 2016.
Okay.
He was Mercedes 2017 to 2021. So he was a part of multiple constructor championship teams.
Okay.
And he was actually a two-time drivers champion runner-up.
No kidding.
Dude can drive. And so I'm an idiot. So everyone,
yeah, we apologize.
If you were about to hit enter and say, Ben, you don't know what you're talking about, you can still, take the catharsis, do it. You're not wrong, but know that I know that you're not wrong.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
this guy's got chops.
So he's quirky, he's funny, and he's a racer. So the fact that, if you can hang around F1, if you can hang around Major League Baseball, if you can hang around the NFL for 10 years, you're doing something right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I think is so interesting is how much this speaks to the importance of and the impact of the constructor that you are a part of, and the support that you receive, both from an engineering standpoint and from a pit standpoint. All of that really feeds into your overall performance, because going into this, I was going, man, Valtteri and Kick Sauber, like a couple of jokers. No, he's not a joker. Kick Sauber, which maybe is the issue. So that for me, still, we've talked about the weeks leading up to this so far. Kick Sauber is super suspect. Does it reshape my my impression of Bottas? Absolutely, it does.
One of the things we were going to talk about next, actually, is just next, so we can kind of move on a little bit and then come back, is of how excuse me, Fernando Alonso announced that he signed with Aston Martin, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit.
Look at that. You're tying it all together.
I'm tying it all together.
We're getting the audience feedback. We're getting the current news here. This is good.
I do have a Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, so that we're just kind of working all that together here. So Aston Martin just re-signed Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, and I think that's a 3-year.
I'm not sure how many years. I just knew that he did.
It's through 2026, and I think he quipped along the lines of, like, this is the longest career, the longest. Man, words is hard today. Man.
Words is hard.
Words is
Need
difficult.
more coffee.
This is the most secure contract he's had, essentially.
So now you have, not to put Kick Sauber in the same line as Aston Martin, because they're not. They're in two different tiers. But if you are a team Aston Martin that just got bought out and renamed within the past 2 or 3 years, I forget who they were before. It was before I was heavily involved with it. But so now you have you have Aston Martin that has the son of the owner,
Lance Stroll,
driving, and then you have Kick Sauber that just got bought again. What is one thing you would absolutely want on your team in order to help get you into that next tier?
Championship caliber
driver. So so when you sit down with Fernando Alonso, or you sit down with Valtteri Bottas, and they can look at you and say, no, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
So we here in Spectator Land will be like, Valtteri Bottas, I'm not putting him on my fantasy team. Or Valtteri Bottas, he came in last again. Yeah, because the car isn't a Red Bull. And Valtteri and Fernando, I talk about them like I know them. Valtteri and Fernando both know what they're getting into.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And they're given a shot to drive in Fernando Alonso's case, next 3 years.
Yep.
And help the team grow.
So here's what's really interesting too. Let's take a step back and look at roster spots for 2025.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't have that written in front of me.
no, you're fine. No, and this is going to all still stay in the realm of the very, very, very hypothetical.
Okay.
So you've got Ferrari locked in. You've got
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. You've got Red Bull, which they've got Max Verstappen. And there had been some rumblings about him, like what if he leaves earlier than his 2028?
Because that
contract?
was attached to one of the other leaders in the team, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but that has died down quite a
Okay,
bit. Yeah.
good.
And let's be honest. I don't think Checo's going anywhere.
No.
Where else would you go? He's the reliable, get you a lot of points number 2 driver.
Exactly. And as soon as you're looking for somebody, you already know the car. So as soon as you hit the reset with anybody else, like we enjoy speculating, to your point, we enjoy speculating, whoa, what happens if
all day, yeah.
Liam Lawson goes and joins Red Bull? Like, he's not. Checo's right there. It's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you want to skip down to RB race, baby Red Bull, I think next year you see Yuki Tsunoda, who's driving solidly.
Absolutely.
But there was an article also talking about he's driving solidly, not to prove himself for Red Bull, but to maintain his space for RB. I think, and I think that's an accurate statement.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I can very much also see Liam Lawson taking over for Daniel Ricciardo, who has not, the Daniel Ricciardo experiment has not been all that fruitful. But then let's jump over to Mercedes.
Okay.
They've got an opening. They've got Russell, who's been solid.
Sure.
So I wonder if there would be a Ferrari switch and Carlos Sainz goes over as the number 1 racer for Mercedes. Wherever Carlos goes, he wants to be number 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and he's proven he can be.
Yeah, and he's been willing to take it from his teammate.
Yeah.
so,
Multiple times.
So again, he's going to be a not plays well with others if he's
point.
the driver 2 on his team. Yeah, Alonso's locked in for 2 to 3 more years.
Sure.
Lance Stroll's not going anywhere because his dad bought the team essentially for him to have a platform. And again, he's doing well enough.
And hopefully, if my dad bought an F1 team, I would, and I'm a driver, I would be able to drive for him.
Exactly.
Like, he's not going to fire me. Hopefully,
that would be the hope. I think it'd be a kind of a cool, gutsy move to say, "Son, I love you. You've done some great things, and your future is set. Don't worry about it." But to have Alonso in the twilight years of his career, and then Carlos Sainz, and so we were
true.
A couple weeks ago we were talking about the skill gap between your drivers.
Yeah,
you got Sainz who's still got the fire in his belly. You got Alonso who can drive, into his twilight years, which I hate saying because I'm turning 40 in a month and he's like 42 years old, so it sucks.
I just turned 40, and I'm
it's like yay, we're talking about the old men in the sport.
As soon as they are free agents again, would you go? How much money would you have to get?
And that's what's so interesting. It's the eternal trade-off. It's the Suits conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to be the star of a mid-tier team, or are you willing to be the support player on one of the god tier teams?
Yeah. Oh,
and
gosh.
it's you're not going to be the hero, but you're expected to perform at an elite level at all times.
Sure. And we've all been there. I know it's easy for us right here to say, "Oh, come on, you're offering me $1 million to race F1. Of course I would do that."
Exactly. And that's what's so wild is you've got 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. How many years has it been since he has won a race?
It's been a couple.
Yeah. You've got Alonso, 2-time champion. When was the last time he won a Grand Prix?
Yeah.
And they're staying in it to get that feeling again.
Sure.
You want to be on the podium and you want to be at the top of it.
Yeah.
That's what drives you to wake up the next day, stay in shape, travel, keep up with that travel regimen.
Ricciardo has been around for a decade plus, I think, right? He's been around for a while. Maybe not a decade plus, but he's been around for a while. And so as soon as he's driven with 4 different teams, if as soon as he becomes a free agent at the end of the year for 2025, do you pick up Daniel Ricciardo? Because he just wants to stay in the game.
He does, and he's like you had talked about it. I think it was about 2 months ago now. His mentality has shifted fundamentally. To this has been taken away from me, but I'm just back and I'm happy to be here. I think that's very healthy. But the problem is, I think we've very strongly acknowledged the reality that the quality of the constructor impacts your performance.
Yeah.
Undeniably. Just Valtteri Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, all of them have felt that.
Yeah.
And Daniel Ricciardo is feeling that going from Red Bull to Baby RB. And so and there was that test that he had where he went in the Red Bull car, with Christian Horner, and they said, look, dude still got it. He can do it. Let's put him on RB and let him get his chops back up.
He jumped forward massively from last year to this year. Max Verstappen, the time that he got, I think it was one of the first two races. I think it was Bahrain, but the qualifying time that he did in that race in 2023 that won him the pole would have gotten him 8th this year. So as soon as you put Daniel Ricciardo in, in a AlphaTauri or whatever they were last year, and he's doing great, if all the cars evolved 8 places and AlphaTauri now Baby RB only evolved 1 place, I could see right now that the car hasn't evolved much. Yuki Tsunoda is, he's a solid driver, not taking that away from him, but especially if the car is a little more tailored to what he is, he's 2 years further along in evolution than Daniel Ricciardo is in the car.
Yeah.
And it's just, Ricciardo's chops, to kind of what you said, his chops might just be the same, but the cars have evolved and he's not where everybody else is.
Right.
So I am very grateful. We have started getting audience feedback, which is awesome. This is a new podcast, new for this year. So whenever we do watch all the social medias, we do watch the email boxes, and whenever you do comments, I usually only reply to the comments that are positive, the whole standard.
It feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. But exactly. But as soon as it's standard online, no disliking stuff, it's all right, got it. I read it. I promise.
Yeah. If nothing else, if we're pissing you off, we at least appreciate you listening to us.
Exactly.
So
we really do.
Know that we see you, we hear you. And
one of the greatest lines I got from a TV show called The West Wing was how the one of the lead characters, he loves Spartan people that disagree with him. And thank you. And so, and you and I looked at the exact same information and came up with different sides. So
absolutely.
I have no problem accepting criticism.
Oh, that was the thing. At a previous unit I worked at, I had a CO who I disagreed about a lot of things on, but one thing I have stolen from him and I've taken away is he would end a lot of our team meetings and our conversations with, we reserve the right to be smarter tomorrow.
That's really good.
So please
write that down.
Yeah, we are going to make mistakes. I'm obviously going to trail off. Let me know about it, and I reserve the right to be smarter tomorrow. Thank you for the input.
So one of the feedback we got was DRS zone versus speed trap. Mm-hmm. I am quoted earlier on in the season to saying you go through the speed trap, and then that lets you know for the DRS. I thought the speed trap was the DRS detection zone. They are in fact two different things. The speed trap is at the end of the longest straightaway, and it is where every racer will be at their top performance before slowing down for the turn.
Yep.
No matter what team you are, no matter how your car is built, you want to go as fast as you can on the straightaways. No one's easing off. So that's where the speed trap is. And all it is just a max performance indicator, so that way you can see, where they're all racking and stacking when they're obviously all trying. Zone, detects the interval between the cars for the upcoming DRS area.
I got you. Okay.
So when they say, you have to be within a second of somebody to get DRS. Well, yeah, and it's not a constant measure. It's at a single spot. You have to be within a second.
So if you go onto F1.com or Formula1.com, you can actually pull up the Shanghai Grand Prix race course, and it actually lists it all out very, very clearly, and it's coming into and out of some key turns. Yeah.
So exactly. So as soon as you make this hard, almost hairpin right-hand turn from turn 14, 15, then you have a short straightaway, and as soon as I'm within 1 second of you, before we both slow down for that turn,
activate DRS.
I have DRS for the entire next straightaway.
Oh my goodness.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So that way I can be, but also because we're going to all be within 1 second of each other during the turn. We're all going to bunch up on the turns.
See.
And so based on this, it looks to me like once you pass a certain point, it automatically takes away your DRS forces the drivers to have that downforce. But that would be an interesting thing to look up, as if because I know it's a button to activate or not activate it. You don't need to use DRS if you have it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I also wonder if there's an automatic cutoff. That's something to be worth looking up.
Cool.
So that is what I goofed up. I mistakenly called DRS zone equals speed trap. That is not true. Speed trap is after the biggest straightaway. DRS detection zone measures an interval between cars before the DRS active zone.
Gotcha.
Second one is Aston Martin versus Austin Martin.
Yes.
Aston Martin is a car manufacturer common here in Formula One and James Bond. Austin is a city in Texas. Well, comments from people being like, dude, it's Aston, not Austin. Austin equals Texas. So I do hear you. I will continue to do my best. And if I keep doing it, then I'm going to need to start like I don't know, like an Aston jar or something to order us pizza or whatever.
Oh, that'd be. I think we'd have money for multiple pizzas within one episode.
Fantasy F1. If you log into, I can't speak to the app. I haven't looked at the app yet. So the Shanghai Showdown is a mini league.
This is an extra level of bragging rights, right?
It is, which is what we're all here
coming
for.
Out of this. I'm the king of China.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. So there's that, and so this is a sprint race. It is the first sprint race of the season.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Can we walk through the impacts of that again?
Absolutely. So the important things to know about a sprint race is that there are more ways to get points. So the regular way the F1 weekend works, you watch the free practices, lock in your teams, you have qualifying, and you have your Grand Prix. With a sprint weekend, you only have one free practice session. Then you have to lock in your team before the sprint qualifying. Now, it is going to be a little different this year. So last year, you would do one free practice. You'd have your qualifying for the main race. Then you'd have the qualifying for the sprint. Then you would have the sprint. And then you would have your main race.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure why they did it that way. There's probably a rational reason. This year, they have moved it around a little bit. So, and I think it's better. Now you have your practice, sprint qualifying, sprint race, qualifying, main race.
Now, does that mean that after the sprint, I can go back and lock in my teams differently for
negative?
Okay.
Yes. So where usually you would have your practices during like a Friday, and then some point on Saturday you would have to lock in for the qualifying on Saturday and then the main race on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now you have to lock in your teams on Friday after or sometime before. I would say after free practice 1, but before Friday's sprint qualifier.
Gotcha.
And a big thing about this is if you're wanting to use your limitless, your wild cards, things like that, your 3x DRS on sprint weekends is when I think you should do it, because you have the sprint race and you have the sprint qualifying, which are 2 more times.
Oh,
to get
so
points.
many more. Okay, so
many more points.
So those tokens are going to apply to both your sprint and your race.
Sprint and the race.
This is some smart information.
So if you look at the people who are winning the F1, the global F1 league right now, they have used their limitless, they have used their 3x DRS, and the leader right now has also used their no negative chip.
Sure.
And then I'm not sure. I think the other one they used a wild card. I'm not sure about that, but they're burning through their chips, and that's trying to get them far enough ahead that it works. And that's fine if that's your strategy. Everyone has there's different tire strategies. There can be different, fantasy F1 strategies.
But as we've seen, not every strategy pays off.
Not every strategy pays off. And this is why, at least on paper, you should wait to use especially your limitless for a sprint weekend. The punchline is you have more opportunities for points. Asterisk, you also have more opportunities to get a DNF.
Of the rules again, can I use multiple tokens in one weekend?
You can only use one token per week.
So I can't go 3x and no negative, right?
Negative.
Okay.
No, you can't do that. So you can only use one token per week. And there's the one, was it the final fix token?
Yeah.
That's the only token you can use in between events. At some point, if you want to use the final fix token, you can oust one person and put in a new person. That is something you would do if somebody like crashes and goes to the hospital, and they're obviously not going to race.
Right.
But let's say you decided to 3x, or you decided to use your limitless token going into a weekend, and then suddenly, God forbid, one of your drivers, breaks their arm. You're Daniel Ricciardo and you break your hand when you crash.
Right.
You can't use your final fix token. You can only use one total.
Got it. Okay, cool.
So,
now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So, we've hit on this reality multiple times, which is every time these guys get in their cars, it's
Yeah.
a major liability.
Absolutely.
Now I'm looking at the schedule here. You got practice 1, sprint qualifying race.
Yep.
So they're getting into their cars as much as they would on a non-sprint weekend,
Yeah.
because normally they'd
So it
have the
looks
3
like.
practices,
Yeah,
then
that's a good
qualifying,
point.
then
Yeah.
the race. Now that being said, in your experience and in your spectating over the last several years, would you say there is a higher degree of liability or of risk, given that this is a sprint qualifying and then a sprint rather than a free practice 2 and free practice 3?
I would say it's higher risk, but also much higher reward, especially for the bottom 10 drivers.
Okay.
Because yes, like there's again, and there's a couple different. It's multifaceted. One is that the race teams don't care about fantasy. So
Right.
as soon as they're in a sprint and there's anything wrong with their car, they're going to retire the car from the sprint and save it for the race.
Yep.
Because that's where all the points are. If you win a F1 race, you get 25 points. If you win a sprint, which is like 100 meter, 100,000, 100 kilometers, whatever it is, you get like 10 points or 9 points. So you get a third of the points ish for winning a sprint. So you're not going to sacrifice your car to try and get 9 points and miss. You're going to save your car and try and get 25 points.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess yeah. So to that point, do you see higher tier constructors putting less effort into a sprint than the overall race?
Yes.
Okay. So
I think so.
So this is this is an opportunity then for the Williamses,
Yes.
the Haas's, and the Kick Saubers
Yes.
to push it a little bit and maybe come away with some points. And that's exactly what I was going to follow up with,
Yeah.
which is you've got your tire strategy, and that's going to be impacted now by the existence of the sprints.
So as soon as I'm a lower tier team, and I know I'm not, let's say I'm a Haas. No, not Haas. Let's say I'm Kick Sauber.
Okay.
Since they've been on the chopping block today. If I'm Kick Sauber, I know I'm not going to win a Grand Prix. I'm just not.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. My best chance of winning a Grand Prix is to start from the back with hard tires and hope if the rest of the field crashes, I can overcut them. So when they come into the pits, I don't need to, and I can stay out and I can get space. But as soon as I'm Kick Sauber in a sprint, and I know that Red Bull, yes, we'll try, but no, come on, then maybe it's an opportunity for me to use my soft tires. And since it's shorter, and maybe, and I have to check the rules if they need to pit or not. I think they still have to pit once. I don't know.
Okay.
But I should know that. But anyway, but then basically I can use a new strategy. I can use up my soft tires, or I can use up my go-ness, my speed, to try and get a better point standing, try and get fifth in the sprint when other people might not be given a full effort because they're saving their stuff for the race.
I see what you're saying.
Because Red Bull and Mercedes and McLaren want to win the race because that's where all the points are. But me, I just want to get points.
Exactly.
So there we go.
Well, my big takeaway here, because I'm lazy, is, that means I can update my teams on today or Wednesday or Thursday, because the only thing I have to worry about is what might happen during the only free practice that there is.
And to that point, though, now that you only have, because normally with free practice 1, whatever, that's when you can kind of bring in your reserve drivers to drive, and there's some rules about what you can do. But usually by the time you get to free practice 3, that's when you see teams doing their low fuel, sticky tire qualifying practices on the track. That is something that's what you're going to see in FP1 now. They're going to have to move that forward. So FP1 will be much more impactful this time around. That's everything from my list. Do you have any parting shots or saved rounds?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, those of you who have reached out to us, thank you. Great weekend. We'll see you after Shanghai.
Cheers.